Welcome, everyone. It's Tuesday today. Usually we do this on Thursday, but we're doing a special podcast to discuss the tragic and horrific events in Manchester, England last night. This is Radiation Therapy. I'm your host, Brash Rhino. With me is at JFry.
Terrorists are garbage people.
Yes, they are. Also, Facepalm Reality.
How you doing?
We have the Greasy Faggot.
Jay's garbage people.
Oh.
And we also have a special guest with us today, and that is Ardent Questions.
Thank you. Let's go by Ardent Rain. The important thing to remember here today, my dear sweet friends who I've met for the first time today, except Jay, is that this is a terror attack and has nothing to do with Islam. Islam is a religion of peace, and Muhammad was the first victim of Islamophobia.
That is true. All right, somebody's got their speakers up in the background.
Yeah, my bad. I'm a noob.
Okay.
Yeah, you can cast on to me later.
No worries.
I'm trying to get on that chat from yesterday, and I missed it all yesterday, so
I just want to correct something that I said. I said that these were tragic events. This is not a tragedy. A tragedy is is an accident. It's something act of God, nature, stuff like that. That's a tragedy. Okay, this is a horrific act of murder, straight up murder. And so, yeah, this is a pretty serious event. We have, basically, okay, 10 years ago, none of this was happening. This constant stream of terrorist attacks. And just before we get into the articles we're going to discuss and the other topics, I want to read off something that Calvin Robertson of The Rebel just posted on Twitter. Hashtag pray for Paris, January 7th, 2015. Hashtag pray for Paris, November 13, 2015. Hashtag pray for San Bernardino, 2nd December, 2015. Pray for Brussels, 22 March, 2016. Pray for Orlando, June 12, 2016. Pray for Nice, July 14, 2016. Hashtag pray for Germany.
Nice.
Hashtag pray for Wurzburg, July 18th, 2016. Pray for Munich, July 22nd, 2016. Pray for Ansbach, I'm not sure, July 24th, 2016. Pray for Rutlian, July 24th, 2016. Pray for France. Pray for Ohio. Pray for Berlin. Pray for Istanbul. Pray for London. Pray for St. Petersburg. Pray for Stockholm. Pray for Dortmund. Pray for Paris, April 20th, 2017. And today, pray for Manchester, May 22nd, 2017. So, guys, is it safe to say that praying for these places is not doing shit?
Well, there was a Christian, a pope, in fact, who took a different stand on the whole praying against your enemies thing, and his name was Pope Urban II. And
it always goes back to the Crusades with you.
He ushered in a little thing called the Crusades, condemning Saracen, now called jihadis, attacks as demonic, and thereby a holy war being launched against them, saving Europe from a nightmare of caliphate-esque like hell. But I wouldn't know anything about that.
Fair, though. That did take 400 years for him to get that going. They were doing it for a while.
It was a bit of a slow start.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's safe to say that letting in
the Sacrants are garbage people
and millions of migrants into Europe without vetting them has turned into a complete disaster. This is the latest incident in a string of incidents. You basically just have to expect that this kind of shit is going to happen on any given day. And that's the world we live in.
Yeah, Brash, and let's give them good faith, hypothetically. Let's say all the people coming over are from Syria. Well, what we know about the actual situation in Syria, the myth of the moderate rebel, but with the actual situation in Syria, we have really two sides. We have the democratically elected president, Bashar al-Assad, fighting ISIS, and ISIS. And generally, the refugees fleeing Assad, because again, we're supposed to view him as the bad guy, are generally people who support ISIS. So let's say they even were assimilated and they proudly declared, oh, I'm British. Oh, I'm Italian. Oh, I'm French. I also support ISIS. Have fun with that.
Yeah.
And they're not moderate rebels who are fleeing, because the rebels, they're still over there fighting.
Yeah, it's this will not stop. This kind of stuff is this is the new normal in Europe, unfortunately. And for many politicians, the first thing that they come up with, many people on the regressive side, first thing they come up with on something like this is, my heart goes out to all of my Muslim brethren across the world. And it's are you kidding me? Can we please just grieve for the people who are dead? Is that a possibility? Can we do that? And
I've gone for a spate of removing people today that have done that, because they're still picking bits of deceased children out of the wreckage, and these people are still crying about hurt feelings. That is my problem.
And can we also mention here that we're talking literal children?
Yes.
We're not talking. Go ahead.
No, but you look at why these children are being targeted. This is because groups like Daesh, ISIS, whatever you want to call them, they understand Islam, but they understand a principle that I think the alt-right is just beginning to understand. It is not about proximity to red pill. It is about generation. And if you grow up in a generation where it's good, where it's a white country, doesn't matter how bad it gets, you've already been conditioned to think you're living in a good place. If you grow up like I did, someone born in 1995, millennial, borderline Generation Z, in diversity, or like these kids are, far worse than I have ever had to go through, growing up near grooming gangs, near the hellish nightmare that is probably modern London or modern Manchester, then what you have is a group of people that are going to grow into rebels. And the government can't stand a rebel. Not in America, not in the UK, not in any Western world, not in the modern times. They're gone.
Yeah, it's go ahead. Go ahead, Jay.
Mm-hmm. That wasn't me. That was Face.
Face, go ahead.
No, weren't me either.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to find the tweet that this asshole put out this morning. Some British, maybe Face, maybe some British politician basically saying that the thought that my thoughts go out to my Muslim brothers and sisters in the country. May you be safe, or something to that effect. And I saw this on Tommy Robinson's timeline, and he replied, basically, "Are you kidding me? We have dead children here, and can we just please address what's going on here?" I mean, I don't understand this rabid desire to defend political Islam. A political Islam that the stated goal of political Islam is to conquer the world and make everyone a Muslim or kill them. That is the stated goal of political Islam.
And one's as good as the other.
And that's disregarding the racial conflict aspect. I mean, you understand, like, the majority of the reports coming out of these grooming gangs, these constant rapes in the UK, they are always saying things like, "You white trash, you white whore, filled," so on and so forth. I mean, there is a racial component, there's a religious component, and there's an ethnic component. They don't want anything left of Europe alive but its name.
Well,
and even that, they're
okay.
They're going to change that too.
I found the tweet, and okay, it was a little off. So here's what Senator G. Crowell had to say this morning: "We beat the terrorists. We beat the terrorists by respecting the religious beliefs. dress codes, and practices of fellow humans.
Oh, shit.
No God wants hashtag Manchester Arena bombing.
Oh, I was drinking. That was wrong.
That last part is true. Hopefully, if there is a God, no God wants that kind of bombing. But to say that we beat the terrorists by respecting the religious beliefs, dress codes, and practices of said terrorists, are you kidding me? That's what Europe has been doing for the past 20 years, bending over backwards to try to respect everything about this very demanding set of doctrines and beliefs that is political Islam.
Did he really say
this is the result?
He said dress code. He said dress code. We respect their dress code.
Yes, and practices. Yeah. Their religious beliefs, dress codes, and practices. That's the way to beat terrorism. Then why is terrorism worse in Europe than it has been in a very long time?
Because if you're going to get bought by terrorism, the best way to do it is get bent over by them first. That's the whole point of that, isn't it?
It just,
and it's not.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
That tweet reminded me of something that happened, like how Europe deals with terrorism and how we deal with it here. I remember a certain Draw Muhammad contest in Texas, and
good old Pam Geller.
how some guys showed up. If I'm remembering this correctly, some guys showed up to protest with guns. Two guys, yeah, they showed up to protest with some guns because they were going to kill people for drawing Muhammad, and they met a bunch of other people with other guns that actually knew how to use them.
God bless
yeah,
America.
For now.
That's how we deal with it.
For now.
Well, so just to recap, if someone's listening to this and hasn't heard about the bombing, which
no one's
find very unlikely, but just the latest. This is the latest from the Daily Mail, and I know Daily Mail can be kind of sketchy, but they usually nail it with big events like this, keeping things updated. So, ball-bearing bomb detonated at the pop concert of Ariana Grande has killed 22 people and injured at least 119 others. The bomber has been named as Salman Abedi, a Mancunian. Salman.
And he was the son of Libyan refugees.
Yes, son of Libyan refugees. And that right there, I think, is very important because he was born in the UK. He was born in 1995. He's 22 years old. Okay, so that, to me, what that says is his Libyan parents did not integrate into UK culture. They did not become British. They stayed Libyan, and the extremist beliefs and the people they surrounded themselves with have led to, and the political Islamic culture that exists inside of the UK in parts of London and Manchester, etc., has created and bred this type of person that will leech onto this ideology and then act violently on the tenants.
That's the thing, though. It's even if they did, like you get these not even first generations, these immigrants that come in, and even in America, they're hardworking. They love America. They do everything they can to assimilate and bust their ass. But then you get the first generation born in America, and they are the most militant bastards, spoiled, growing up in America, talking shit about it the whole time,
enjoying the benefits and talking
the whole
shit
time.
about it.
This is a natural consequence of people with no roots or background in America, just living here and being born into wealth. That should not be able to happen. If you have no roots here and the money you're getting comes from America or American businesses, or even if your parents do American work, that should not happen. That kind of lack of integration is what happens with with sort of this mentality we have in America when it comes to illegal immigration, where we think, oh, just because the immigration is illegal. That's why it's bad. It's bad because it's illegal. No, it's bad because people are coming into the area in which a registered group of people that make up a country and specific ethnic identity within that country live. And then with no roots to that culture, with no roots to that group, with no care for that community, are benefiting off of that community. That is why it is bad. It is not bad because it is, quote, illegal. It is immoral immigration.
Yeah, but
I've never thought of it that way.
Sorry, mate. But let's not.
Sorry, go on.
I think it's all immigration. We have like Sikh communities over here, for instance, that came over here and completely integrated. They have no issues. It's in this country. It is the Muslim community that refuses to integrate. It's all the others are no problem.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, that's different because you're British and you have like magical altruistic love powers and you can like convert people into tea drinking happy like gentry until in like 2 days. Like I've seen this happen before. Like my friend Cater Endless, I don't know if any of you know him, but it was just like I used to know him when he was still like kind of autisty, and then he immediately, after meeting his British friends, adopted a mentality of British gentry. Just immediately. Sorry.
Yeah, look at Jay. He's been rubbing shoulders with me for long enough now. He drinks tea and everything.
The milk thing is a little disconcerting, but I'm coming around.
What's the milk thing?
Hot milk in your tea. It's
What the fuck?
Huh.
Sweetened iced tea is the best. So what's this hot bullshit?
I pour cold milk.
You pour milk
tea.
in your tea.
Yeah, I pour cold milk in my tea.
And it becomes hot milk.
Oh, that's the same with that's the same
as
with
coffee.
Coffee. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not. I don't think that's that weird.
Just
I drink coffee.
Just circling back to my previous point, I could sum it up basically like this: bureaucracy can make laws, but men make the morals. And sort of with this, I would just describe it as immoral immigration. And your point, Face, was that there are various populations, when willing to integrate, of course, can integrate. It's a conscious effort, and yeah, no, I mean, I think that's great when it can work. I mean, as a white nationalist myself, I am worried about the ethnic sovereignty of any European peoples, especially now when we're 15% of the global population. But yep, sorry.
No, that's fine. I totally understand. Yeah, I say with this country, it is certain religions, and by certain religions, I mean one religion. I mean Islam. That's the only one that has an issue integrating. I say with the others, they tend to integrate. If you listen to a lot of what Tommy Robinson says, a lot of his friends are Sikhs, and he's still been accused of being a white nationalist when his best friends are Sikhs. So,
well, no, I mean, with Tommy Robinson, he's the opposite of a white nationalist. I mean, I've heard his talks constantly.
Yeah.
It's always, he talks about the glory of how Luton was before it was like this actual rainbow country. It's what South Africa claimed to be as it was slaughtering white people.
Yeah, I watched a video Tommy put out this morning. He actually went to a mosque there in Manchester, and he said that within, I can't remember the radius, but it was not a large radius, like maybe 20 miles. There had been 17 or 18 terror incidences around that mosque, and that the radicalization was happening within the mosques, etc. And the people that claim that this is not about Islam, I mean, we won't know for a while if there was actually a connection, but ISIS claimed responsibility for this attack. Their statement read, "With Allah's grace and support, a soldier of the Caliphate managed to place explosive devices in the midst of the gatherings of the Crusaders in the British city of Manchester." They said
Crusaders?
What? Yes. The little girls were Crusaders.
Yes, that is to just really quickly interject.
Sure.
The Crusader mentality, you see this from the Erdogan, president of Turkey. You see this from his rhetoric. You see this from the rhetoric of every Muslim country. They are justifying the invasion of Europe because, again, these Semitic peoples are not naturally evil. No people are naturally evil. They have to be riled up into rage. So they bring about the image of the Crusader, an old race war, a race religious war that happened a while ago under the guise of a holy war.
Hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
Yes, exactly. They want that old adage. They give the boogeyman stories of the Crusades. You can imagine what the image of the Crusades is in a Muslim country. And obviously, I'm not against the Crusades. I'm in pro bringing it back. But the
Same here.
Well, I mean, if these Islamic groups, ISIS and others, keep pushing like this, they may actually get a crusade.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
So it says the group said the attack was, quote, revenge for Allah's religion in response to their transgressions against the lands of the Muslims. So please tell me how this is not related to Islam. This has nothing to do with Islam. I've been reading that on Twitter all morning.
Well, it's more than just a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, look at when these attacks happen. You have France the week of the first election. You have terror attacks right before the American election, the German election. Right now we have the English election coming in a couple weeks. They're attacking right before the election to get hardliners in so that they can be attacked. This would be the opposite of what a David versus Goliath fight should look like. They're not. This isn't they are the underdog, but they're attempting to start all this shit basically to get the attacks towards them, because that's how they get funding. They're basically self-promoting.
Yeah,
because they want this fight to happen.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the cycle the UK government is doing. It's the same cycle to a limited extent the federal government is doing with the state of New York, which is, oh, hey, we have all this heightened violence, but we can't call out the source of the violence because it's politically incorrect. Hey, to solve this violence, you should give the government more power. Hey, by the way, we're not going to call out the source of the violence again, but more violence happened. Give us more power. And then once you've given away everything to the great Satan that is the federal government, not to sound like a libertarian too much, but once you've given away everything to them, then they might get rid of the Muslims. But by that point, you're already a slave.
Yeah,
Exactly.
this is a pretty rough incident. Some of the
it was sorry, there was
sure,
a cartoon that came out after the Paris attack that actually illustrates that quite perfectly. It was a woman and she had like a little baby T-Rex on a leash pretty much, and she was Liberty and the T-Rex was security, and the T-Rex got bigger and bigger and bigger until it eventually turned on Liberty and ate her.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lion would be a better image, but yeah, that works.
So from what I'm reading here on this article, security sources have told Mail Online that initial analysis of the sophisticated device suggests it was made by an expert. And I find it difficult to believe that this Salman guy was an expert, which means he had help. They have arrested another 23-year-old man. They're attempting to find out if this guy was part of a cell or if he was alone. I find it hard to believe he was alone if the device was that sophisticated. I mean, we're talking about a device that effectively injured or killed 140 people.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty big deal.
But they're not complicated to make. You're basically talking about a device that ignites and pushes. That's all it does. It just pushes at a high velocity tiny bits of shrapnel. That's not.
It's basically it's basically a giant shotgun.
Yeah,
it's an omnidirectional shotgun. Is basically.
Well, no, it's the kind of bombs like the FBI keeps telling me to make. Like it's that.
Exactly. Because there's a couple of KKK groups that are just trying to get each other, who are also FBI agents, to blow up something.
Well, the best part about the KKK is that it's 90% FBI agents. So you have like, okay, let's see if I can get this guy. All right, let's see if I can get this guy. All right. Hey, it's just this angers me so much. You wanna take care of this? Like, yeah, I want to take care of this. Maybe you should take care of this. No, maybe you should. Maybe you should. Maybe you should.
In the 90s, there was this huge effort by the FBI to really stick it to militias. And these militia guys who are former military and pro-patriotism would buy the equipment that the FBI was selling. Like, who doesn't want a grenade launcher? Basically, like, hell yeah, I want a grenade launcher. And they're like, okay, so what are you going to use it on? They're like, I just bought a grenade launcher. Are you kidding me? This thing cost me $6,000. Why would I'm not going to use it. I just want to have it. America. And they're like, okay, so we just have you on this one gun charge. Damn it. I guess it's better than nothing. You're not going to.
Oh, go ahead.
You're not going to get them trying to blow up the country. They love the country. It's the government they don't like.
And that speaks to the dichotomy of America. It's the land of the free, but we have so many federal laws, some that aren't currently enforced, that if someone wants to look for a crime that you're doing, Jay, you're probably doing a crime right now that you don't even know is illegal. But if the feds wanted your ass, guess what? You'd be in prison because they could find something on you. I know like, you took a shit. You took a shit with your legs closed, sir. We can't have that. You're coming with us. Ask you some questions.
Did that motherfucker just wipe sideways? I know he did. That's illegal.
Exactly.
Are you guys familiar with Telegram? The app Telegram?
The game or the shitty English?
There's an app called Telegram.
Telegram Messenger. Basically, I think the idea is it is extraordinarily secure. So it's highly encrypted, etc. Well, this is some really great news. So on Telegram, there was a let's see here, an ISIS supporting account. Oh, I just lost my place. I'm sorry. Okay,
updating
basically, again. Yeah, right. I hope not. So basically, an ISIS affiliated account tweeted or messaged out, "Today we fight you on our land, and tomorrow on your land by Allah's permission. Soon the vehicle attacks will be witnessed on your streets by Allah's permission." So they're basically threatening more vehicle attacks on British streets following this attack. So, and unfortunately, I mean, there's something like 20,000 people that are on 24-hour watch in London and the surrounding areas that are basically being watched by authorities who deal with terrorism to make sure that they're not committing terrorism. Well, this guy was on that list. He was being watched by, the authorities were aware of this guy, but he still was able to assemble a bomb, get into a concert. How did he get through the concert? How did he get through there?
Well, he didn't get into a concert.
Right, but how did he get inside the building? Was it a place where there wasn't security?
He didn't get into the concert. The concert was evacuating, and he went into the crowd.
Right. So I'm assuming he did not have to go through any kind of security. Okay.
It was the end of the show
because they're only basically authority. Okay.
Well, you got to understand with the mind of these sort of these Islamic groups, they view the people of Europe, especially, and also the people of Canada and America. They view them like cattle, like animals to hit. So they'll go one way that they torture for fun, because this is a lot of how they're trained in a lot of these countries. Is they practice animal cruelty as a form of acclimating the children to the idea of killing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's why they fuck goats. I understand now.
It's not necessarily torture if they enjoy it, is it, Jay?
Yeah.
This kind of
this is gonna be a good night.
This kind of event where I'm sure they were checking security on the way in, but it doesn't look like they were providing security on the way out, or at least it wasn't enough.
Yeah, that's the other dichotomy. You have you have terror, so the government needs more power to provide terror task forces, but the people in the terror task force are scared of being called racist for arresting the people that the terror task force was assigned to arrest.
Yep. I think there's a lot of that, especially in Britain.
It's not so much arresting them, it's the harassment, it's the surveillance and stuff. They have to have good grounds for surveillance. You know, have to be cast iron before they do it.
Salon just someone took a picture of Salon's page, and it says Alex Jones, right-wing media waste no time politicizing Manchester bombing. Right underneath that is Salon with the Manchester was an attack on girls.
Oh, fucking, that was disgusting, that story. Oh.
Well,
it was an attack on girls. You don't men.
Well, one of the victims been named as a 28-year-old male.
Yeah, we'll see what that leads to.
Well, there's 3 victims named so far, and one of them's a bloke. So
it's toxic masculinity, guys.
What was the top count of the toxic masculinity bombing? It was like 26.
What, the Manchester one so far?
All right.
22 so far, I think.
All right.
But there's quite a few heavily injured that obviously might increase those numbers.
Yeah, it involved shrapnel, so some people are soon to die or lose limbs.
Well, that's it. Yeah, it's definitely going to be limbs lost, like Boston.
And again, this is what they want. They want a weak, crippled. I'm talking about Islamists, just in general, Muslims want a weak, crippled Christian to European population. So when they come in, if you try to stop them, you're already either broken, or you're too young, or you're too weak to do anything. It's all complementary attacks. That's all these are. These are complementary attacks. These are like painters using green on red on black. They look good together, and it's the same way for them.
Well, that's the tactics they use in war zones, isn't it? They go for maiming rather than killing, basically to hinder the forces further.
Yeah, it's better to widespread cripple than concentrate and kill.
Well, and what this is going to do, I mean, this is... people are going to be thinking twice about going to concerts. I mean, that's the point of terror, is to disrupt ordinary life, etc. And this Manchester arena is one of the largest arenas in all of Europe. They hold shows there all the time, giant shows, all kinds of. And this is going to have a chilling effect on the economy surrounding Manchester.
Yeah, that's the point, though, is that they want
that's the
chill.
Point of terror. They do, and that's why. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, this is the whole issue with all these celebrities coming out and saying we are divided, we're not scared and stuff. I'll tell you what, I'm fucking scared. I don't go to cities anymore because I'll be honest with you, my daughter being blown up by a bomb is not something I'll be brave about accepting. This is serious shit. And if they can't control this, why would I go to these places?
That's so racist.
Yeah, and that actually is a point towards how they're saying, like, oh, carry on as normal. And people haven't been carrying on as normal for a long time.
No.
For years, especially like in like parts of France, like where women can't even Paul Joseph Lawson was talking about this earlier today, where women in France are afraid to leave their fucking houses because, oh no, they'll be seen without a veil, therefore they need to be fucking raped or stoned or beaten. A woman and her dog in one of like the Norwegian Scandinavian countries was beaten and her dog stoned to death because she dared to walk a dog. And people aren't allowed to walk their fucking dogs in like, reverence or to like help accommodate the large Muslim groups in the cities because it'll offend them because dogs are bad. What the fuck? The way of life hasn't been a way of life for a while. Yeah.
They're attacking canine units in France for having dogs. They're trying to stop existing in parts of Paris right now.
Well, you need to put the dogs in hijabs then, don't you? That's the only solution.
I guess.
Just
well, honestly, I mean
if they're neutered.
One of the most satisfying videos I've watched has been a Italian police dog chewing off the nuts of a migrant.
Oh yes, my people.
You're gonna have to send that to me.
I'm so proud of my people.
Wait, they're your people too?
What, the
It's
dog?
Italy? Yeah. Oh, fuck off, face. I'm a bitch, but I'm not that bitch.
So, hey, Face, were you talking about the word Islamophobia? I was trying to read on for the next part.
Which
I
part,
talk
sorry?
about it. I talk
Okay.
about Islamophobia all the time. Then you change the definition.
Yeah, I just want to point out, Islamophobia, a phobia is an irrational fear of something. And I would venture to say with great confidence that there are many people who are afraid of practitioners of Islam in the UK, in Manchester, in London, with all of these attacks.
Yeah,
that is not an irrational fear.
No.
At this point.
It's the psychological equivalent of an immune system reaction.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah, so I mean,
I'm ex-forces and I'm worried about it, you know.
The white.
I'm worried for you.
Definition.
Hey, Face. What are you kind of hearing from friends and family members in the UK? What are their opinions on this?
Yeah, I went into work today, and actually a lot of people were engaging and really pissed off about this. People that I would not have thought would have been, and there was a lot more vocal discontent with it.
Is the Saxon learning to hate?
Well, it's always been there, mate. It's always been there, but we're so browbeaten about Islamophobia, which is, let's be honest, a blasphemy law. People sometimes just cock to it just for ease of life. People like myself are seen as the outsiders and occasionally accused of being far right, but everyone was talking about it today quite openly.
No, that's something I'm noticing. That's something I'm noticing too. Not so much. I don't know. As an American, from what I'm seeing from coming out of the UK, is that, like in attacks before, like what was it? Your attack on Parliament, right?
Mm-hmm. Westminster.
Westminster. That people were kind of like, oh, like it happened. But I think now, and it's sad that it took children getting involved, but now that children are involved, people are starting to actually get angry.
Oh yeah, that is the line. People have crossed.
Yeah,
that's the line.
It's kind of funny. I'm thinking about it now. It's like, and this is because one of the problems with my brain is that I imagine many people as the character Carl from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. But like, I'm just imagining like an average UK citizen watching a Parliament member survive a terrorist attack, and he's like, "Yeah, you got to look good for when you get stabbed."
Yeah.
Like no. I do long for the day when you guys pull a Ragnar the Red on these Muslim groups, and what I mean by that is not the conflict that he had with Muslims, but I mean that in the sense of when the Saxons got sick of Ragnar's shit, they locked him in a cage and burned him alive, and then impaled him.
Mm. Metaphorically speaking.
Googling.
No,
no, literally.
No, there was a literal there. Googling Islamophobia, and the first definition that comes up is a dislike of or prejudice against Islam or Muslims, especially as a political force.
Which I have.
Having nothing to do with phobia. It's a dislike or a prejudice, not an irrational fear. I put it in the chat link on Google.
The word is meaningless then. The word is meaningless.
Phobia is a thing.
Yeah.
It means a
well, no, I'm saying if they're changing the definition to drop irrational fear of, then the word is basically it's just it's a made up word anyway.
It is a made up word. That's the whole point.
In the current framework of psychology in the West, we base far too much shit on Freud, and the problem with Freud is it's basically Freudian psychology is a tool to confirm your biases as a psychologist. It's not a tool to actually figure out what is wrong with the patient. So the whole phobia thing, I could say like, what, you don't like it when I cut you on the shoulder with like a knife? I don't know why I keep going a knife. Probably because I'm thinking of the UK. So knife. But it's like, yeah, you don't like it. You don't like it. Well, you're probably knifophobic. You're metallophobic.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That is exactly right. That's exactly the reaction, and that's why Islamophobia was created. The word, it is a reaction. Oh, you don't like it? Well, that means you're Islamophobic.
I am bomophobic.
I have a prejudice and a phobia about trucks. What is it you call it in the UK? I forget. Not
Lorries.
Trolleys. Lorries, yeah. I have a phobia about lorries. So it's
What,
not
since-
American trucks that do stuff like that. No, it's just your guys's. Something wrong with your guys's trucks.
Since the Nice attack. Yeah.
Lorophobia. Well, you know, I think it's only a matter of time before we see something like this in the U.S. As good as our guys have been about preventing this type of thing, it's only a matter of time. There are bad actors in the U.S. at this time plotting and planning this type of shit, and
Bill de Blasio.
Yeah, Bill de Blasio. And something is going to slip through. Someone's going to slip through, and we're going to have something like this in the U.S. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah, and I wouldn't just stop there. I mean, you look at police organizations that have started to have diversity hire Muslim groups become captains. You look at these groups that are being systematically infiltrated and brought down by Semitic, by Muslim influence. And it's just sickening. It is absolutely sickening to watch because it is a cancer that you can't call a cancer. It's a tumor you can't call a tumor. It's malignant, but
it's not a tumor.
You keep saying it's benign. You're right. It's the cancerous Arnold Schwarzenegger baby of evil.
Did you guys see the Steven Crowder video that he put out this morning? About 5 minutes long.
Yeah.
He made some great points in that, you know, there's a type of Islam where, you know, it's mostly, you know, westernized, man in the sky type beliefs, that sort of thing. Then there is the political Islam with the stated purpose of world domination and the destruction of Western culture and Western values, the destruction and murder of Western peoples. That's, you know, anybody that's not a Muslim, basically. No, anyone who doesn't follow Islam, and also some of those that do, they just follow the wrong type of Islam. It's very, very dangerous stuff. Very dangerous.
You could tell though that the Crowder was rushed to air because he said that Islam was inconsequential to America.
Yeah,
and what he wanted to say was antithetical to America.
Well, he did say. No, what did he say? I can't remember now. He kind of corrected it toward the end of the video, but yeah, I did notice that as well. But yeah, social media after this is basically a wasteland. I mean, there are so many assholes out there. I'm just going to point out this one because he's one of the king assholes, and that's the Onision, an insufferable Onision, whatever.
Got discharged from the Air Force because he couldn't kill a rodent. Onision.
Yeah, he's an insufferable son of a bitch, and
Can I ask Face a question first about that Crowder video?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, crack on.
Well, he was saying about like what it pretty much amounted to kind of like a litmus test to get into the country first. Do you think that if some programs like that were implemented, do you think they would work?
Just refresh my memory. What was he saying about the litmus test again? Was it about vetting? Was it?
Yeah, pretty much like really hardcore vetting. It's like, do you think that you should hit your woman for any reason?
Oh yes, I remember.
Oh, you're not welcome.
Yeah, it's basically renouncing your existing things that are not
compatible.
I believe in spankings, not backhands.
Yeah. With that, yes. I mean, I did link it in the Twitter chats earlier. The poll that the BBC ran. If you look at those are basically that litmus test of current Muslims in this country, and they were shocking. One I can remember off the top of my head was the 45% of Muslims in the UK do not believe that imams, when they're preaching hate against the West, are out of touch with Islam. That's 45%.
That was a Pew poll.
Yeah. Pew poll.
That was the Pew poll.
Yeah. Well, no, it wasn't the Pew poll. That was the BBC poll. There was a Pew poll as well, but the BBC poll actually held in the UK gave that 45% figure. So that's a little bit worrying, isn't it? I mean, that's openly admitting, I don't know.
And they don't feel fear or anything like that in admitting that. It's just something that is. You think that you think they would be a little trepidatious to admit, yeah, I want these terrible things, but they don't care. They just go ahead and do it.
I mean, this is why economically, as far as that goes, I'm a neo-feudalist. I mean, I really believe that. I believe that it should be your count that votes. I believe that. And what that means is it would really any solution other than what we have right now with Western governments would work, where the Western governments side with whatever group they think will give them more power. Do you think they cared about, like, I'm not saying for or against the whole end of segregation thing. I think it should have ended because it was a forced thing. But when it comes to the end of segregation in America, that wasn't because, the government was suddenly, oh, now we're pro civil rights. No. It wasn't because they're pro-civil rights. The people who were getting more and more rights, the people who were going to benefit from the end of segregation, they were going to vote for more stronger government regulations because the government gave them this, because the government was placating them. And the same thing's going to happen with Muslims. I'm telling you, there's going to be Sharia, sort of this law in Canada where it's actually going to be illegal to call out Muslims soon. It's the same thing that's going to happen in New York. It's definitely going to happen in New York. It's probably going to happen in a lot of major cities. As a Houstonian, frankly, I think it's going to happen here, and I think it's going to start to happen when they infiltrate the police force, because I think that's one of my biggest fears. Is right now we have like a white cowboy who's like our sheriff, but they're coming for the police force. All right, sorry, go on.
That law in Canada, didn't that already go through? I remember reading something.
It was a bill that was proposed that was heard to become a law position prior to it becoming a law. Have you guys seen the Katy Perry's no borders, no walls nonsense?
Oh, fuck's sake. She can say that in her little castle, can't she?
Yeah, and that's the thing that really bothers me. Is you've got Obama, Mr. No Borders, No Walls, and he just bought a mansion in D.C. and while he was still in office fighting against border walls, was getting a 10-foot fence put up on it.
Yeah, he's built a wall around it, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to advocate for open borders when you don't have to deal with the consequences of it. When you can sit in your large mansion like Katy Perry with armed 24-hour security all around you, giant walls, all kinds of security monitoring, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's pretty easy when you're completely safe and you don't have to walk around neighborhoods that are being inundated with people that don't share the values of your culture.
Yeah, it's like Pope Francis. It's like, you must open your hearts to these refugees. Oh, are you gonna let down the wall around the place where you live? And it's like, no, open.
Of course not.
As he closes the door on you, open your hearts. Open your heart.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, Tommy Robinson, this is exactly why he exists in the form that he does. He grew up in a working class neighborhood that saw an immense population of refugees come into the community, and basically destroyed the community. Because it's one thing when you bring in refugees at a controlled rate and they're settled in the communities, and that doesn't turn into a balkanization type of thing where you form entire communities, Islamic communities, that don't really interact with the culture at large. They just keep the culture that they came from, that was the source of them becoming refugees. They want to make that culture in Britain It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and what you have to understand with these sort of, and when I use this broad term Semitic, it's largely due to the history, a lot like how sedentary civilization building sort of shaped Europeans. In that same way, nomadic conquest shaped Semitic groups. So with Islam, with the racial groups that largely practice Islam, while they may set up a caliphate, while that may be beneficial to their religion, nothing's holding them in that place except the benefits of the caliphate. As soon as the benefits of the caliphate go, they go, And within that, I mean, they could care less if Europe rises or falls, but they view this as a conquest, an opportunity for glory, an opportunity to help shape them some more. And it's on that deep instinctive level, the same way Europeans are slowly learning to hate, learning to grow, resentful of these groups coming in and attacking them, It's nature, man. This has happened in history 1,000 times before, and it's going to happen 1,000 times after.
And to going back to the politicians, like they don't go out to Ariana Grande concerts. Katy Perry, who we were just talking about, doesn't get visits from the Obamas. She visits the Obamas. She hosted a Special Olympics dinner and performed in 2014 at the White House. These elites who are doing the voting and making the people suffer, they don't go to the concerts. They have the concerts come to them. And even the ultra rich, who are the people in power, no one blows up the box seats. That there's no one there to do it. Oh, you killed 4 people. You're doing wonderful jihads. No, you kill the largest group possible, which are the main floor seats, the people who suffer from this. They probably don't even exit the same way that the masses do. They have special limo doors or some stuff. So they're not suffering the same catastrophic events that the normal everyday people are.
And that's Tommy Robinson's entire deal. He's saying, look, you guys live in this area of London in multi-million-dollar homes, surrounded by police, surrounded by security personnel. You go to places with your rich friends that are for the elite. You aren't on the ground in the neighborhoods that are suffering from mass mass immigration. You're not seeing that.
A better word. Incursion.
Yeah, incursion, invasion.
Face, break down the demographic of London for us.
London, off the top of my head, I think it's gone into the minority of English-born people now.
It's like 52% migrant, and then what, the upper classes you were saying?
Yeah, it's basically just all the rich people now that are left in there, the bankers, the politicians. That's the only indigenous people now in London.
It's that and first generation freaking Muslims or immigrants of all stripes and colors.
Yeah, and Tommy's bang on the money with that. I mean, he obviously lives that in Luton, where he lives. It's one of those areas that was really affected by this massive drive for diversity. But it's not big cities anymore. I live in relative countryside, and we're starting to notice it a lot more here now.
Well, any place that's been affected by by not having employment means a lack of housing, and not that there's a lack of houses, but there's a lack of employed people filling those houses. So they're getting filled with basically immigrants who are on the dole. So they're getting put into houses. One guy with 16 kids is getting a mansion because of math, and they're lowering the standards of the whole community.
Well, yeah, and this is part of the forced dysgenics, sort of the hashtag white genocide meme. This is part of it. I mean, they force indigenous white populations in Europe to be in a position where, as responsible people that they are, they won't reproduce unless they're mentally retarded or chavs.
Boom.
And
spot on. I'm gonna elaborate on that in a minute, but you carry on.
Okay. But they force them into a position where if they're any kind of responsible, they won't reproduce. And then they subsidize and they reward the breeding of invaders.
So my elaboration to that is, bit of background,
Yes.
both me and my wife work full-time, both professionals, earn a fair wage. We can't afford more than one child because we don't get any benefits because we earn a certain wage. So we want another child, but we can't afford another one yet. So we're stuck with one, but we see people with like 10 children walking around with no jobs because they're supplied for, they're looked after. How is that encouraging?
Not just walking around, fucking shopping.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah.
And here's the thing, and I think this is also true for Chavs, but as someone who comes from Italian blood in America, you could see why, like, the politically correct press, they're always nicer to the Italians and the Irish than they are to the other white ethnic groups of America. And do you know why? Can you guess the voting pattern of Italians and Irish throughout history? You know, it's to the left, and I'm guessing Chavs vote for a higher government, right?
Well, generally they vote for Labour, which gives them the most freebies, which is the left. Yeah.
Yep.
They're actually not the left now. They're actually the far left. They're communists now. Their new leader is a communist.
Oh, guys.
Fucking
breaking.
pasta niggers.
I
No,
get.
go ahead.
Hey, but I guess the threat level has been raised to critical, and armed forces are now being deployed on the ground.
What, in England?
Yeah.
Wait
a minute, I haven't checked this out.
Okay.
I'm not against that, but I didn't. No one's rang me and told me.
Okay.
Tommy,
From the-
Tommy Robinson just posted it.
I don't know.
From
The image,
okay,
the
hold on.
image I have in my head right now is just like the armed forces of the UK running past a Muslim raping a girl to bust down a dude's door. He said something mean on the internet.
The armed forces aren't like that, trust me.
They're literally surrounded and have Katie Hopkins like at gunpoint.
Yeah, she got in trouble. She got in a little bit of trouble this morning. Okay.
Her final
Had to turn
solution.
herself in.
From the Mirror, UK terror threat level increased to critical in wake of Manchester Arena attack investigation. The UK terror threat has been increased from severe to critical. PM Theresa May has announced. It means that an attack is expected imminently.
Right.
Anti-terror agencies have been working for the past 24 hours to work out if the suicide bomber worked alone or was part of an organized cell. In a statement delivered 9:45 tonight, the Prime Minister said that it is a possibility we cannot ignore that there is a wider group involved. She also revealed military personnel could be deployed to support armed police officers at public events.
Well,
So
like
that's
I said, the best opportunity would be to cause an incident that would create a group of people meeting in an open area so they could then attack that open area. There would be nothing smarter in the viewpoint of terrorism to attack a vigil that's being held for the Manchester Arena bombing.
Boy,
Yeah,
that would
it's a lot like that march that Tommy Robinson led against the girl who was raped and killed.
Chelsea, I don't know.
Yeah, Chelsea Manning, not Chelsea Manning. Shit.
No. No, Chelsea wasn't killed. She's alive. She escaped.
Chelsea Wright.
You're right. Sorry. Yeah.
No, yeah, like you look at that march and you think, at least as an American, I'm thinking like, forget guns, just some torches and pitchforks, maybe like old fashioned. You're Anglos. This is in your blood. This is like a nice, simple form of rebellion. Just torches and pitchforks. I'm just asking.
I read Frankenstein. The Germans can do it.
Yeah, the Germans can do it, and they're cucks right now.
Yeah. Germany is going down very fast, and Angela Merkel has threatened sanctions against not just the UK, but I think a couple other places too. Yeah.
Of course. Why not? Of course.
Well,
Talk
you know,
about a
Angela
complete
Merkel,
continent in chaos.
What?
Talk about a continent in chaos.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And this is something, by the way, that we have seen also before in history. The elites don't care that the smaller groups are dying. The less the less in power groups are dying because there's no benefit for them, and then the whole nation suffers for it. I am reminded how Europe got its name from the Greek mythology, Europa, the daughter of the phoenix. Who was, every time she would die, she would rise again from the ashes. And that summarizes the history and modern state of Europe and future.
Well, to be fair, though, I mean, Germany, when it gets uppity, it doesn't pick on just anybody. Like, it starts world wars, like, repeatedly.
Yeah, Germany don't fuck about.
Yeah, they're like, hey, it's what, 1910? Let's fight everybody.
Yeah, with the Germans, the whole problem with Germany right now, as far as the gene pool goes, is that the first group of their aristocracy was sort of killed off. Their sort of ruling caste and sort of warrior caste was killed off in World War I, and then the second time World War II. So what's left are sort of these worker bees, who again, the RD systemic ethnic, the neurological changes that go on as being part of a German bloodline, being born into that mindset of systemic thought of everything needs to be based on a system, and then having no like warriors or aristocracy left, you're stuck with a gene pool that needs to wait to reproduce those members. It needs to wait to reproduce those caste systems, and it's not given that time. It just keeps more terror, more terror, more terror.
Well, guys, here's a nice story out of this whole thing.
Now, when you say nice, do you mean niece again?
I don't. Yeah, niece. Okay, so there's a photo on Twitter somebody posted of a Sikh man. He's got his turban on, and he's got a sign on his car saying "free taxi if needed," and he's ferrying people who are involved in the bombing, or who've been affected by the bombing around town for free. Great guy, taxi cab.
Yeah, no, Sikhs have always kind of integrated well within European group societies. They integrate well in Houston too. It's just that people keep mistaking them for Muslims.
Integrate while holding on to their own culture. They do exactly. A good job of both.
They do a very good job.
Yeah, they are a peaceful. Whereas the Muslim is a parasite, the Sikh is a peaceful bird landing on your shoulder.
And they do hate the Muslims just because all the shit they get.
Dude, the history of Sikhs, like they have a ceremonial sword. They don't have that for show. They have that because their ancestors used to fight Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got to understand the unique history of the Sikhs and also just the Hindu caste system in general. Originally, like the Indo-Aryan groups and the sort of social shaming tactic that went against miscegenation, even when going so far as the Hindu mythology with a large amount of the demons being portrayed as darker peoples and the gods and goddesses being portrayed as white. I mean, that whole goal was based around preserving their ethnic sovereignty. And what you see with the Sikhs of today, and also Bollywood actors, you see the last remnants of the Indo-Aryans. And that's sort of what's going on there. That's where the culture passed down for ages, and they're now largely a Semitic group, but they have adapted so well to that, and they're just so, honorable as people. So it is great.
That's awesome. So you guys, do you know, how do you say the last name? Jack Pacific?
Pacific. Yeah, Pacific.
So he just tweeted out, "Hi, Daily Mirror, why did you delete this? Are you going to apologize to Sikhs?" And apparently Daily Mirror, who took that photo of that guy and that story, tweeted it out, and then they deleted it for some reason.
Yeah, well, Cosmo still got it up.
Cosmo does?
Yep.
Yeah, they called him a Muslim.
Yeah, because they know shitloads about politics.
Manchester area vigil was cut short today.
Birmingham.
A man was allegedly armed with a small axe and a large stick has been detained by police.
Okay.
Unnamed man shouted out while being handcuffed and led away by officers of the West. Don't say what he shouted, of course, and they didn't give his name. Probably
we can guess, I believe.
It was probably God is great in Arabic, but it wasn't Allahu Akbar.
God, he shouted, "God is great," of course.
In Arabic.
Speakers who were paying tribute to Manchester victims were interrupted as man's loud protest from down the street. Police said the man was arrested upon suspicion of possession of an offensive weapon, adding that he was known to them and is thought to have a history of mentally ill health.
No, well,
I believe that's called Islam.
Right, just a quick update while I've got you guys before I get off.
Oh, he's a black dude.
I spoke to a few UK guys that I know. They don't know anything about this UK deployment of forces, so I'd hold tight on that one for now. But I've got to get off anyway. So cheers for having us, guys.
Cheers, face.
Yeah.
Cheers,
Good to have you,
sir.
man.
Have a good day.
Good to have you.
Yeah, and I hope to get on with you again soon. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Good day.
Good night and good luck.
Yeah, good luck to him. God.
Yeah. So it's a black guy with a it looks kind of like a mini bat and a little hatchet.
Weird.
And the update, and it just deleted. Freaking mirror.
Really?
Yeah.
They just deleted it again?
Yeah, this website uses cookies, and I wish I was on my phone so I could screen cap it. Does this?
Let's take a picture of the screen.
Taking a picture of the screen. Well, all right.
No, Jay, computers aren't magic. You have to physically do it. It doesn't happen when you say it.
Draw on a picture right now. This is what happened.
I went to art school. I got this.
Yes, it's not going to be. I mean, it's just now it just says "got story" instead of the bullshit I was looking at.
So, Greasy, both your parents Italian or?
No, my great-grandparents.
Oh, all right. My mom's Italian, and her whole side of the family's from Palermo, Sicily, and New Orleans. My dad's dad is German, and my dad's mom is Anglo.
Yeah, I got a whole mix of those countries. Just can probably throw a dart at any of them. It's like, yeah, family's from there. But none of my German family was Nazis, as a lot of people like to point out. For some reason, whenever they talk about their German heritage, it's super important for some reason.
Well, it's certain. That's the thing. People, when it comes to the restriction of white identity, what you always need to understand, people do not fear you saying, "I'm proud of my German heritage." They don't fear you saying, "I'm proud of my Italian heritage." They don't fear you saying, "I am proud of my history as an Englishman." No. In the UK, they might fear that. But they fear you saying, "I am proud to be white." And actually, the Christopher Cantwell just did a podcast this morning to shill for Cantwell. The other Italian goyim. He did a show where an old Italian man came in and talked about how the alt-right was warming his heart because everyone was scared. Like they could say they were proud to be Irish, they were proud to be Italian. They could never once ever say they were proud to be white because saying that was the equivalent of a social and economic death sentence for them. And it's such a good speech, and I really recommend it to you.
It's kind
You'll have to
of
send it to me.
interesting that any other ethnicity you can say I'm proud to be X ethnicity, but you cannot say that with white without social repercussions. And you're right. People can say, "Hey, I'm proud of my English, Scottish, Irish heritage." But the minute you say white, you're labeled a racist, white supremacist, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. It's actually something that was interesting that happened at work because I work with quite a few Hispanics. And one of them was like, "I'm brown and proud." And we're all just joking around. And I was like, "Is it okay if I say I'm white and proud?" He's like, "Yeah, why not?"
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there was an instance at a Bible study back when I was going to this non-denominational church, and this one black guy I know he's 1/4 white, but basically we were out in like this public park at night, and we were having sort of a picnic thing. He kept screaming "Black Power, Black Power." He wasn't getting any attention. I could tell he has ADHD because I have ADHD, but with that, and then he screamed "White Power," and a bunch of whites and Mexicans looked at him like he was Satan. Like a black guy can't even say white power.
They probably thought, oh, another white guy chimed in.
No, I mean, no, they legit knew he was a black guy, but the problem was he was saying white power because that's how deeply it is in conservative land, where any other power, strength, power is viewed as healthy, normal. But for whatever reason, and it's not really for whatever reason, years of brainwashing. I mean, in 3 generations, this is also how Mexicans are going to be because they're going to be targeted with the same population control tactic. But it's this fear of the majority population being proud of who they are. And you see this in Free China, too, with communist propaganda pushing the idea of Chinese privilege in Hong Kong schools. No.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand. I mean, in the past, obviously, the white majority did have systematic racist policies in place. And there were incidences of very bad racial discrimination, racial profiling, even, vigilante justice, that happened against people of color, as the modern acronym is. And so, yes, those things, people with white power doing, saying white power, skinheads, committing heinous crimes, etc., that stuff did occur. But by and large, our country, it's not really a thing anymore. You don't have.
Well, I mean, I gotta say, by that logic, I gotta say that by that logic, then also black power is a hate symbol, because people who screamed black power and had black power violently, and still do today, take over campuses by hostile militant force. The Black Panthers did this often in the 70s, and Black Lives Matter does it often today.
That's true.
But what's the solution to that? If the solution is that, if we take into account 2 factors, the first factor is that racial pride for any group is incredibly healthy. But the second factor is that racial pride doesn't work when diversity plus proximity equals, war, the old anthropological adage, the old anthropology rule. And the issue, obviously, is, wait a minute, if I support an ideology, because I always had this idea, because I'm getting a business degree, I want to offer discounts and consulting fees once I, become a consultant or become someone who's able to be a consultant, to racially homogenous family-owned businesses. A good example would be, there's this great black family-owned business called Catfish Station. Not Catfish Station, that's a different one. But a catfish company that me and my family sometimes visit and go to. And it's this healthy community, good service. And guess what? They have a healthy pride about them. And they're not ashamed of, other people coming in. If you don't take issue with them, they're not going to take issue with you. And that's the beauty of it.
And this, that's an example. Oh, sorry. That's an example of kind of my life philosophy, which is, I don't care what ethnicity you are. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what your religion is. I don't care what you do and don't believe. I don't care your political affiliation. The only thing I care about is, are you an asshole or not? If you're an asshole, we're probably not going to get along. If you're a fine person, if you're a good guy, yeah, we're going to get along. I prefer the radical approach of Martin Luther King, and this is now a radical approach, to judge people on an individual basis on who they are, rather than what they look like or who they affiliate with. It's judging that person based on their merits. Are they a good person or are they not a good person? Are they an asshole or are they not an asshole? And that's kind of my life philosophy. And that's a great example of it. You said they just, they're proud of who they are, and it doesn't matter. Anyone can come into their space and be a patron of the restaurant and enjoy the atmosphere, enjoy the food, as long as they're not going to be an asshole. And that works for me.
Yeah, exactly. And I would further that into an extent if I could segue this is all excellent points into to white nationalism, black nationalism, so on and so forth. Later today or tomorrow, I'm going to be on with actually the black nationalist who converted me to racial thought in a very peaceful way. He was red-pilled by Jared Taylor. He red-pilled me in turn. And, you know, with that whole thing, it really is the idea of a nation or an ethno-state. Ethno-state's a loaded term. I know it carries weight with it. But with that idea of an ethno-state, it's the idea, okay, wait, I enjoy this healthy, homogenous family unit. And if I really care about everyone having a healthy, homogenous family unit, and I understand the anthropological adage, the anthropological rule of diversity plus proximity results in misinterpreted behavioral characteristics that result in miscommunications resulting in war, then what I understand is that there must be, and out of America, obviously it's already too mixed to like say, oh, I want an all-white America, like Greg Johnson says. But what I would say is, say like just one state that's already majority white and sort of make laws around ethnic civilization and moving there, and one state that's already majority black and then make laws about there are people there with ties and love to that community that happen to be black, and they love the land and they love you know, their community, their family, then let them have that state. And if there are people who are white who have ties to a land and a family and all of that things, then let them have that state, let them have that land, let them be white nationalists. Yeah, my Dane Cook impression is shit.
But you got my vote.
Thank you.
I'm not. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Greasy.
Give the blacks Ohio.
Yeah, they can keep Ohio. I think just going back between like the difference of like white power or racial power and racial pride. I think it's when you get into the idea of racial power over racial pride is when we start really having issues between the different groups.
Well, no, and that goes back to diversity plus proximity equals war. And I would say this, like if you're in the black ethno state and you want to scream black power and you have white friends over Skype over like on the other side of the continent in the white ethno state, and you're like, yeah, that's cool. Yeah. You know, I say this on Twitter before when I talk about my position. A black guy on vacation in a white ethno state or a white guy on vacation in a black ethno state would just be more inclined to say, oh, this is nice. These people are lovely and I respect the land and I don't want to ruin this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they develop a love for their own people and no one wants to inherently be a hypocrite.
Is everybody else on their Twitter lines, or is this just my racist ass Twitter line, getting the Enoch Powell was right hashtag?
I don't know what that is.
No, I haven't seen it.
Well, Enoch Powell, this is a quote from him on Hitler's birthday in 1968, April 20th, says whole areas, towns, and parts of towns across England will be occupied by sections of the immigrant and immigrant descended population. It is like watching a nation busily engaged in heaping up its own funeral pyre. They found their wives unable to obtain hospital beds in childbirth, their children unable to obtain school places, their homes and neighborhoods changed beyond recognition, their plans and prospects of the future defeated. For reasons which they could not comprehend, and in pursuance of a decision by fault on which they were never consulted, they found themselves made strangers in their own country.
Wow.
And that is from 1968, nearly 50 years ago. And that's what's becoming of the country.
No, yeah,
they're
exactly. When it comes to what I just repeated like 3 times, diversity plus proximity equals war, there is like only 2 alternatives to that. And that is firstly, the indigenous peoples or majority peoples mixing into the invasive or invading populations. And the third option is the velvet handshake, in which all parties, and this is one's fairly rare, but in which all parties recognize the unhealthiness of the situation and just say, well, we all already live here, and like, okay, yeah, it's kind of immoral for us to force any other group out, so we'll all just kind of get our own little sections.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really an ethno state type of guy. I mean, I get the argument that homogenous societies work better, and that is true to a large extent. Just homogenous groups tend to work together better, I guess. But I'm not really for segregation or anything like that. Again, it all just boils down to, are you an asshole or are you not an asshole? If you're not, we can be friends.
Yes, I understand, and that's a fair libertarian position-esque, to take. Would you consider yourself
Yeah, I consider myself sort of a left-leaning libertarian, a live and let live, kind of person. Do what you want as long as you're not hurting someone else. That's kind of my philosophy.
Yeah, and absolutely, and this is why I said before that I'm against the segregation of pre-1965, because it was forced onto people. It was forced onto people in a way that they wouldn't rightfully connect. When you force nature, or when you try to go against nature, what you essentially do is reassert nature or delay it in a more violent fashion. And it's hateful, because what we saw with Brown v. Board of Education, what we saw with all these things, they were enforced at gunpoint. They were not enforced in a way that because this from like being a libertarian, that there's that whole question at the libertarian, the libertarian primaries. It's always, would you have supported Brown v. Board of Education? And if they answer no, they get booed, and that can be used as propaganda against libertarians. Or if they say yes, they get booed. No, if they say they wouldn't have supported it, they get booed. And that can be used as negative propaganda against libertarians, because they can use it to call you racist. But with that, it's because it was enforced at gunpoint, the same way segregation was. Both forced multiculturalism, which is what the sort of diversity narrative is, and forced segregation, both force upon a people against their will an action which will inevitably cause the opposite. Sort of the rise of the alt-right could possibly be blamed on forced multiculturalism.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a reaction to multiculturalism, and I think that multiple cultures can exist in the same state peacefully. I think that is a thing. The problem is the extreme lengths that regressives have gone to push extreme multiculturalism, to just beat people over the head with it, to smash them in the face with a sledgehammer. And that goes like, okay, well, if you believe X, you are evil. If you believe there's only two genders, you are an evil satanic person who worships Hitler and wants the destruction of all peoples who are not white. I mean, that's the jump they go to. If you're like, well, I'm not convinced that there are more than two genders, boom, you're automatically a Nazi. Like that, it's either all or nothing with the regressive left. And if you don't agree with one thing that everything that they say, you're Hitler and you need to be ostracized. You are not to be given a platform to speak. You should have your YouTube channel deleted via Steve Shives' friends at Google that he wants to make. I mean, it's that extreme. And it's just, people just go, are you kidding me? Let's just have a reasonable discussion. Reasonable discussion. It's a reasonable discussion. I got reasonable discussion. This is bullshit. It's a reasonable discussion. Yeah, it's like, but people do want to have a reasonable myself, I'm not, I like to talk to everybody. I'm not an alt-right guy, but I talk to alt-right guys. I have started with Bryden, of course, Jay. It's just
What the shit?
No, but we see.
You know what I'm saying? I like to hear more voices, not less voices. The more speech, the better. You know, the guy from Twitter, the guy who founded Twitter, who's no longer the CEO, came out and basically apologized. He's like, oh, I'm really sorry that I made Twitter a free speech zone. That was a mistake because it led to the rise of Trump. It's like, are you kidding me?
Yes, and I just want to say, like, one more thing, a historical comparison. The usual adage when people talk about the progressive left is they talk about the rise of communism. That's usually the usual comparison. But what I would say here, you look at the French Revolution, which started off with this simple terminology that's very familiar to us in America when put in English: liberté, égalité, fraternité. And as it went on, those three things became more and more subjective, more and more abstract, to the point where they just became arbitrary guidelines for crazed attacks on anyone, including Antoine Lavoisier. This guy who's a genius responsible for pushing alchemy into being modern chemistry was executed because he went against these groups. He went against these freaking violent terrorist-like left-wing groups that were gaining power. And it's no one's safe from it when unhealthy, unrealistic politics are used. As far as identity politics goes, obviously I'm going to have a different opinion on that than a libertarian would in general. But at the same time, when the identity politics aren't based on anything finite whatsoever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For
I
a
Texan,
Texan,
see where you're coming from.
Your French is surprisingly atrocious.
For a Texan, your French is surprisingly atrocious.
I mean, you just figured it'd be better, and it wasn't.
Well, it actually should be better because my American ancestors are all from New Orleans. I'm the only native-born Texan in my family.
Well, that explains that. Whew, that was bad. It's almost as bad as Brash trying to pronounce French place. The Champs-Élysées that got that was a joke.
It was bad. And I even did take French in junior high, but that was a joke. So, yeah, sorry, France. I
the
apologize.
Chantleza.
First year of high school.
The Chantleza.
First year of high school, I took Spanish, but the Spanish teacher was Mexican and expected you to have grown up in a bilingual household.
Yikes.
That's diversity.
I took 2 years of Spanish, and I only remember how to cuss at people.
Speaking of Spanish, just looking at the chat here, Manuel Sabrero asked for a shout out. So thanks for listening, Manuel.
Hey, we got a viewer. My freshman year of Spanish in high school was taught by a man from Portugal. Third week, I was like, yeah, this isn't Spanish. Portuguese, and you think we wouldn't notice. So I was like, can we learn Spanish now?
That would be confusing.
And my little brother's like, what are you learning? Because he took Spanish in grade school and junior high, and spoke it fluently for like 3 years after high school, and now he doesn't remember shit. But I was like, help, and he's like, I have no idea what you're doing here. Like, I looked it up. I'm like, this is freaking Portuguese. He didn't even bother teaching us Spanish. He taught us Portuguese. Like, we wouldn't know the difference.
I know my Spanish classes kind of fucked me up for a little bit because different sections were in different countries, so you had different slang and different ways of saying things. I could not say oil in Spanish without a freaking Spanish lisp, and it pissed me off. Because Spaniards say their C's and Z's with a lisp.
Castilian?
Yeah, like aceite,
Castilian.
Zaragoza, and it just made me so angry. I couldn't say oil.
Yeah, like corazon versus corazon.
Mm-hmm.
The Z lisp.
There's a C and Z lisp.
Holy
so
shit.
Strange.
And has the Muslim taxi driver took kids trying to escape the Manchester concert home free. It's a fucking Sikh.
Yep.
They still have it up? They've had that up for a while.
Well, it just got retweeted to me.
Yeah.
I guarantee you they don't know the difference between a Sikh and a Muslim.
Well, it's the irony. I've wanted to construct a meme for a while of like SJW claims to have a girlfriend in Canada and friends in Japan. Alt-right actually has friends with actually is friends with other nationalists overseas and has a higher chance of getting laid.
Sikh, Sikh, Sihk. Where's the H go? What?
I'm not sure.
S-I. Oh, letters. S-I-H-K, S-I-K-H.
I always spelled it Siekh.
That's a chic. I think you're missing an H. Oh well.
It's what Zelda turns into. That's what the religion is based off of, right?
Exactly.
No.
Good job. You figured it out.
I
So
made a
proud of
Mario Smash Brothers reference. I won.
And that was the point of this.
Well, guys, we are bumping up against an hour 30 right now. So
Oh, wow.
probably want to wrap it up. Yeah, it went really fast. A lot to discuss. So we'll be back, of course, Thursday evening. It's about 7. Let's see, 9 o'clock Eastern, as usual. So thanks to everyone who watched, all 4 of you, and appreciate it.
2 of those are me.
Okay, all 1 of you then, because I'm watching too.
I think
Well,
it's
thank you
just
for watching.
us.
Yeah, I'm
Probably.
sorry, guys. I did share the link on Twitter, but only once we were like 3/4 done.
No worries.
But I don't want to sound like a shill, but I kind of have to. So like with me online, you can also find me on YouTube at Ardent Rain, Rain, yeah, Ardent Rain. Sorry.
No, please shill away.
No, just
Yeah.
okay. Yep, Ardent Rain on YouTube, or at Ardent Questions on Twitter. I don't have any other media sites. If you're a fashy goy, you can probably find me on Discord somewhere. I'm in almost every alt-right Discord.
Good deal.
Oh.
Go ahead.
And you can find Facepalm Reality on Twitter at Facepalm Reality, and you can find him on YouTube under the same name.
He's got
He
some
didn't-
great videos.
Yep.
So
I
get
need
out
a
there and
shill
watch
for
him.
him.
Yep.
He
does
doesn't
some great
humble
stuff.
brag well. He doesn't brag well at all.
Oh, he sucks at bragging. I had to have like a whole conversation with him on just advertising himself. Like, you're doing people a service by having them watch your videos.
Yeah.
It's always
Exactly.
a very big historical dichotomy with the British. Like one of the last peoples in Europe to adopt the codes of chivalry, but one of the most long-lasting groups to have it. And one of those big ones, humility.
Yep. Well, guys, any closing thoughts before we end the stream?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Well, I'm sure all of us will continue to follow what's happening in England. Hopefully there's not going to be another bombing or anything like that. So hopefully they can stay safe.
Hopefully.
All right. Well, I guess I'll about wrap it up. Sorry, I'm getting a little tired.
It's okay.
Yeah.
This is
Say
kind of a
what?
hard subject.
Yeah, it is. And I had so much I wanted to discuss on this, and I don't think I felt like I was a little distracted because I was still searching through stuff. But I think it was a pretty good stream though. All told.
This was my fault. I should have told you I was coming.
No, you're good, man. Jay should have told me you're coming.
I did. It was in the chat beforehand. I even put the link to his Twitter in there.
Okay. Which chat? The show chat or The regular chat.
Yeah, Keck chat. Look it up, cocksucker.
Yeah. You got to post that stuff in the show chat, or I'm gonna miss it. Come on, man! I told you.
Well, it was right before because we originally it was supposed to be on my channel because I was setting it up, and then you're like, I'm like, sure, you can do it, and then I said, I got a buddy coming.
Okay, missed it. I missed it. My fault. So
I mean, really, it is. So
I just zoned up
you
to
point
it.
the finger.
What more do you want?
There's
what more do you
fingers
want,
pointing back at you.
What more? No, because I point with my whole hand. So
that's the Marine Corps, like the what's that called? The blade pointing.
Yeah, I think it's 3.
How about this? It's both of your faults. Done. We're done here.
All right, we're
Good
done.
job,
I'm leaning
everybody.
towards.
Good game.
I'm leaning towards blaming Ardent for this.
I'm a bad
let's
wife.
let's blame the
is-
new guy.
Yeah, he's the guest, so yeah, we'll blame him.
I am honored.
Okay.
Speaking of guests, do you want 2 guests or 1 guest Thursday?
For next time,
Because I can do Coatrack and Samwise, or just Samwise, or.
Can we wrap this up, guys, and do this after stream talking?
Let's do that. All right. Thanks
We're live now? What the shit?
We're still live, Jay.
Thanks for everybody for listening or watching this stream, and we'll see you guys Thursday.